Welcome to the Romancing Like Swift podcast, where we talk craft and the business of being an author while fangirling over Taylor Swift. We're your hosts, Morgana Bevan
and Emily Jane. On this podcast, we'll discuss what authors can learn from Taylor Swift. There are many amazing Taylor Swift podcasts in existence. We know this, but our focus is on mining Taylor Swift's lyrics and business practices for tips to help our fellow authors excel in their careers.
Today, we've got Natalie Knight joining us to chat about email marketing, but rather than the author email side, more the e-commerce email side, which is an area we're all scrambling to figure out and to figure out the differences. And I'm hoping Natalie can help us clear a lot of things up. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us and for rescheduling too. The typhoon that was heading for us didn't actually hit. It hit further north, so we got lucky, but we got a horrible amount of rain. But it was still safer to reschedule.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. I'm Natalie Knight. I have been an author for about 3 years. I started writing Insta-love. So those are short novella romance books. So that's how I kind of got into authoring. And then it took like a year or so to kind of find my footing. And then out of nowhere, I wrote a taboo romance. And that kind of pushed me to selling direct and selling on my shop. And I guess the rest is history. I am a author who mainly sells direct. And I also have a membership. And so that's kind of what my readers and other authors know me for as of now.
I feel like selling direct is the hot new thing with authors. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it and what you've had wins and losses on and things like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Before we jump in, let's get the Swifty part of this out of the way. Why don't you tell us your Swift era?
My Swift era, I would have to say, I don't know if this is right, like the Midnight era. I don't know. It's my favorite album, is the Midnight era. So I feel like I'm in the Midnight era.
Hey, there are no right and wrong answers when it comes to what Taylor Swift stuff you love.
Yeah, no. Some people, like, I look at it as being the album that I was brought in on. For some people, it's one they relate the most to. For others, it's the one they listen to the most. So it can be any answer, really.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone is going to argue that Midnight is not an amazing album. It's really good.
Yeah.
It is good. It's such a good album.
Yeah. One of the main reasons I wanted to grab you on the podcast, because we've had Holly Darling talking about the author newsletter, and we were looking at Taylor's emails, and majorly Taylor's emails are all transactional, all the store stuff. She doesn't really do what we would consider the author email with the more personal touch, I guess, is the thing, or like really explaining the backgrounds of stuff. It's just all what I consider e-commerce emails. And there's that thing with authors shifting into direct sales. We're all trying to figure out what the difference is and how we treat them differently. So I'd love it if you could give us your rundown on how we should be treating direct sales newsletters differently to our regular author newsletter.
Yeah, so it's one thing that I talk a lot about with authors is as authors, especially ones who've been writing for a while, we have learned that emails are supposed to be personal and they're not supposed to be salesy. And there's like that 80-20 rule when it comes to emails, but that's how we were taught Newsletter Ninja and all that stuff, which is geared towards authors to get their newsletters up and running. So we kind of have that mindset, but when you switch to marketing emails, especially with Klaviyo, Omnisend, and other platforms that are specific to direct shops and selling, the customer really doesn't care about the background. They're just there for the product. And I kind of remind authors, I'm like, if you look in your email, you see product emails mostly, Bath and Body Works, stores, Target. They're all product emails from a shop. And so it's very difficult for authors to kind of remove the personalization from how we learn about newsletters and switch to marketing emails. because that is just the product. And you also have to remember, if readers are shopping on your shop, it's because they want to know more about those products and those products only. So it's okay to send them emails like, hey, I'm running a sale on this product, or have you checked out the audiobooks for this series? Nothing else has to be in the email. It's completely okay. Either they'll buy it or they won't. But I still feel like authors, they don't like that. They want to add the personalization to it. And so I tell them these are different. These are different emails and they have different purposes. Newsletters are for readers to actually get to know you as an artist, as an author, as a person. And marketing emails are for them to buy your product. That's what they are for. And there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, buy this, here's a coupon, because that's what they're meant to do and they work. So
is there a balance? So I guess it's a sort of 2-question thing. And keep in mind, Natalie, I am not marketing minded on the podcast. Like, she's the marketing one, I'm the craft one. So when I ask stupid questions about marketing, or I like to think that I'm helping the less knowledgeable listeners out there, but it's also that I am less knowledgeable. I just want to be clear about that. So I'm never playing dumb. I actually am ignorant. So is this something that you manage in segmentation of the newsletter, or is there some balance that you have to strike, or do you just differentiate them some other way? I don't understand how you keep those two things apart, I guess.
Well, I tell authors ask me when they start making their Klaviyo or Omniscient accounts, the first thing they ask me, should I merge my newsletter? And I tell them no. So if you've been on ActiveCampaign or you've been with MailerLite for 6 years and your list is like 10,000, they'll say, should I just dump them all? And I say no, because there is a difference. You might have readers who have no intention of buying off your shop. They just want to buy from the retailers. I always tell authors they could send out a campaign from their regular newsletter list that points to their shop, and then you'll see who's buying. And then another option I give them is to create a pop-up with a coupon code. So you pretty much have to restart your list to keep it separate, because you don't want to send emails to readers who don't want those type of emails. And that helps reduce your spam and reduce readers from unsubscribing. So I think that's pretty much the balance, is just keeping the list separate or creating separate segmentations, but not merging your MailerLite list that you had where all you do is talk about you and your characters and then dumping them. And then out of nowhere, these readers are getting, hey, buy my book off this shop, which isn't even Amazon. So yeah, you do want to keep them separate. You do. And that prevents spam, unsubscribing, complaints, all that stuff. So
Awesome.
So my question was going to be like, there's this belief that's been trumpeted that when we start the store, we should be trying to filter people over to the direct store newsletter. And once they get there, we should remove them from the author newsletter. And I've always struggled with that because I do feel like it's two separate things. It's a hassle that I'm paying to mailing list newsletter providers. I feel like there's emails that I send my author newsletter that I necessarily wouldn't send the store newsletter. But I also then have people from the store joining my author newsletter because of the bonus scenes in the back of the books, which we looked at trying to sort out with, what was it? We were going to use, what was it called? Zapier.
Oh, book
to try and get
Zapier,
them.
yes.
Yeah. But BookFunnel have a 2 email limit and I have 2 pen names, so I maxed out the 2 email options. But even if I had done that, I feel like keeping them on the store only maybe removes part of that personal element that would keep them buying from me.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Doing this author business is not cheap, and I don't remove. If I have readers on I use ConverterKit, even if they buy from my shop, I'm not removing them from ConverterKit just because they only might buy once on my shop. And because I still release on Amazon and I have a membership, moving them from one to the other won't necessarily help me. So I keep both of them because you never know which one they're going to open, for one. And two, yes, my Converter kit campaigns, those are more personalized. I want to talk about personal things related to my characters. I send those. And then for my shop, I just send about my book. So I do keep them separate and I don't remove them from one to the other. Am I paying two? Yes. But at the same time, I feel like if authors are going to open up a shop and they're going to use Klaviyo or Omnisend or any of these other marketing campaign email providers, then they have to be prepared to possibly be paying for two providers at the time. I think it's a bad idea to remove readers from one newsletter and put them on your shop, because what if you no longer, I mean, you could always export them, but what if your shop isn't constant? What if you no longer want your shop anymore? Or what if you close it and then you have to put all those people back? I do know authors who did remove, they closed down like an active campaign and they have everything on Klaviyo, but depending on how much you pay for both, it might not be that big of a deal to have both. If you're paying a whole lot of money, I can totally see merging them, but I pay for two just for my sanity and just to keep them separate. So,
yeah. Have you played at all with ConvertKit's direct sales e-commerce section? They've introduced some flows, but they haven't got enough. And for listeners that maybe haven't touched e-commerce yet, flows are like automations that allow us to, if somebody browses on the store and they don't buy, then they get automatically sent an email like you forgot something. If they add to cart, they get sent an email. And ConvertKit has some of these options, but I think it was the things like win-back flows. They didn't have win-back flows, and there was something else they were missing as well.
Yeah. I haven't dived into ConvertKit's direct sales options. Every provider, every newsletter provider has their benchmarks and what they're good at. And ConvertKit and ActiveCampaign and MailerLite, their benchmarks are just for their emails and for their sequences, not so much for their direct sale emails. So that's why I have not dived into it, because when it comes to me just sending a regular newsletter, I know that's what ConvertKit is good at. And I know if I want to send marketing emails, I go to Klaviyo because I know that's what their benchmarks are good at. ConvertKit benchmarks could be improving for direct sales, but I just stick to the email providers that are known for sending marketing emails. And like you said, they're missing some things like win back and other things.
Yeah, I mean, their segmenting is frustrating. I love ConvertKit, but their segmenting is frustrating. Just on a normal email, like MailerLite will allow you to sort subscribers by percentage of lifetime opens or clicks and such. And I've been nagging ConvertKit for that feature since I joined ConvertKit like 2 years ago, and we still don't have it. And I'm not the only one nagging for it. I'm not putting stock on them filling that gap on the e-commerce newsletters very quickly.
Yeah.
Let's rewind. Assume that somebody is new to direct sales. They're in the position of decision paralysis. Let's say they've figured out how to get into a Klaviyo account, but they don't know how to write the emails. So maybe we start with like what all the flows are.
So if someone's new, they set up their Klaviyo account and they're wondering, the good thing about Klaviyo is when you create a Klaviyo account, they set up the main flows for you. They just set them up. They're not really to your brand, but the main flows, when you are setting up your shop and you want these automations to work for you, the main flows are your retargeting flows. So that is your browse abandonment and your cart abandonment. And then you have your thank you flow and your win back flow and your welcome series. So those are pretty much the main 4 flows. And a lot of people, they don't know really what retargeting flows are. Flows pretty much are touch points. So they're triggered by a person completing an action. And those are very, very important, especially when you're selling direct, because only about 40% of people purchase on the very first try. The first time they come to your shop, only 40% of people purchase right away. You need those retargeting flows to get them back to your shop. And that's for any shop. Those are the 4 flows. And when it comes to writing those flows, it really comes down to one, the subject line, because it has to be click worthy. The pre-built wording that Klaviyo has when you first select those flows is just, you left something behind or come back. Those are just the basic. But the reason why authors hire me is because I create very clicky subject lines, which is very important because you want them to open those emails. And then when it comes to writing those emails, the browse abandonment and the cart abandonment emails are very short. I usually have a hooky or catchy title that's in bold, and then something like, you left your book boyfriend behind, or rude to leave your book boyfriend behind, and then you have the product. The other flows, like win back flows or post-purchase thank you flows, they're pretty standard. The win back flow can be something simple like, hey, it's been 45 days, I haven't seen you on the shop, and you entice them with a coupon. So pretty straightforward. Thank you flows are, once someone purchased, you say thank you. You can also offer a coupon for them to return. And then the last flow is the welcome sequence, which is used after a reader signs up for your coupon. And the welcome sequence is usually 3 to 4 emails long. The first email is an introduction to who you are, what you write. So that can be very personalized. It's one of the first emails that can, if you like cats, put that in there. And then the other emails from there is just talking about your main series, your main bundles, and reminding them to use their coupon, and also giving them directions on how to download their book via book funnel. So that's what I do. And I kind of jazz those up and match it to an author's brand so it's fitting. But those are like the most important 4 flows that when you join Klaviyo, you want to set those up correctly.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something I struggled with when I was starting, because I think I did stick with the generic templated ones and then you fixed it for me. But it's like, you just need to get them up, which is the nice thing about the, you set up and it does come with a template. So when you're overwhelmed, you've set it up and something's going while you're pushing out sales. But like when it comes then to deciding what campaigns to send, somebody's joined the list, they've taken the offer on the front page or at the sign up of buying a book, and now it's time to send out a campaign, which I'm really bad at sending regular campaigns, like really
Most
bad.
people are.
Yeah. What do you send? If we're going to keep author personal newsletter separate and we keep e-commerce specific, what do you send?
So you pretty much just send emails, campaigns, because I usually work with Klaviyo. But for Klaviyo, Omnisend, and the rest of the email marketing platforms, campaigns tie heavily into the data that you can mine with these platforms. So in Klaviyo, you would be using segmentations, and you can segment by readers who are budget, who spend $20 or less, readers who spend $50 or more. You can segment by what products they have bought, what products they did not buy yet. You can even segment by paperbacks, audiobooks, and then I think there's some other segments you can do, but it ties into campaigns because when you're creating those campaigns, you can choose those segments. Those are lists. So if you're sending a campaign to readers who only spend $20 at a time on your shop, you could send a small coupon along with it, like a 10%. And you could do the same thing with higher value readers who spend more. If you have a segment where you have a segment of readers who bought this bundle, but they didn't necessarily buy the other bundle, you could send a campaign and directly reach out to them. So campaigns on these email marketing platforms are just product-based campaigns. It's just, hey, we thought you might like this, or I'm sliding into your inbox like a wet bar soap because I wanted to let you know of this. So they're just very product-based. It becomes tricky if you don't have a lot of books. I guess that's the issue that a lot of authors have, is how do I send these campaigns if I don't have a lot of things? You don't have to send them weekly. You can send them once a month, twice a month. This also goes hand in hand with getting traffic to your shop. So it all kind of ties together. You need to get traffic to your shop to get the flows working. And then as your traffic to the shop grows, as more readers come to your shop, you'll have more segments and more data to send out these campaigns. And it's just this one evolving circle. But for authors who have smaller shops, it's okay if you're just sending once a month. I've done campaigns for authors, and I usually do a BOGO, and I do that every Sunday. Buy one, get one. It's very simple. You might have readers who are like, oh, I'll finally buy this bundle, or I'll finally buy this book this Sunday. So I usually do those once or twice a month, and they're pretty easy. If you can't send any other campaign, I would always do a BOGO on a Sunday. So
You made a comment about authors who don't have a lot of books. What is the tipping point? What would you define as a lot of books versus not a lot of books? And I know that is super vague. Is there a tipping point where it's worthwhile to make sure your shop is maximized?
right. The big thing with the shop is the bundles, because you want the biggest bang for your buck. I've worked with authors with very small shops and currently working with author that has like 160 books. I always feel like the sweet spot is like five or six bundles if you can manage it, because most likely these readers aren't buying all your bundles in one go. Some might, but the majority are not buying all 5 or 6 bundles in one go. So that gives you room to send out campaigns. Also, if you can at least also have the paperbacks up, you don't have to be sending them from your house. You can use Lulu or Ingram Spark or whatever, but 5 or 6 ebook bundles paired with those paperback bundles is enough variety. And then maybe throw in a few, if you have a few just standoffish ebooks that don't really go to anything, we could kind of be like, hey, have you read this? Or something like that. But it's very difficult if you only have 2 ebook bundles. And in one paper, there's just not, I feel like 5 or 6 is a good enough inventory to do things with.
That's the frustrating position I'm in now, is that I've literally put a series into KU, so I've lost a bundle, which leaves me with 1, which is not good for ads.
A bundle should be more than 3 books, or is 3 books enough to bundle?
3 books is enough to bundle. I just was talking to an author like an hour ago how she was trying to decide if she wanted to run ads on a 10-book bundle or a 3-book bundle. And I told her, run it on the 3-book bundle, because again, you are getting readers who never heard of you, or they might only have read 1 or 2 books, and they're going to buy this 10-book bundle for this amount of money. What if they don't like it? There could be, 10 books. I don't think I want 10 books of this author that I never heard of.
I would totally be that person. I would be like, I don't know that I want to read 10 books in a row of my favorite author. What if she's just meh? Yeah.
So I told her to run ads to the 3-book series and create a secret page on her shop where I would create that flow for her, that readers who have read the 3-book will get an automated flow a week, whatever, from the day that they buy it. And I will push them through books 4 through 7 if they continue. But I like the 10 books, I'm like, no, you don't want to run ads to that. That will not convert.
Yeah. And that's what I ran into with when I started running ads, I was running ads to 8-book bundle. And then it went up to 9 because I released another book in that series. And it was just very hard to convert. Like, it was breaking even, but it was never making money. And then we dropped to a 5-book bundle. And it was a very brief period where I was making money. And I mean, it was brief. And now I've turned ads off because that's not working right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of I know a lot about ads because I've taken a lot of good courses. And just as a consumer, when I advise authors and they ask me things, I'm thinking as a consumer, as someone who might not know you, I would not do this. But big bundles like that, you have to be like Colleen Hoover or something to make that work. Nobody knows who you are. So 3 or 4 is like the sweet spot. But I do see them running huge ads to these big bundles, and it might be working for them, maybe, but I always caution 4 should be like the max.
That makes sense, because the whole point of ads is to draw in readers who don't know you. Theoretically, the readers who know you are going to be buying your stuff anyway. I mean, ads are for people who are totally new to you.
Right. I also think about when I see these huge book bundles, sometimes I click on them, sometimes I don't, just to kind of check out the shop. If you only have 3 bundles and they're buying one that has 12 books, then what are they going to buy next? What are they going to buy next? And I still feel like there's this small fear that authors have that they shouldn't be charging a lot of money for their books. It's okay to break up that 10 book bundle into 3 bundles and charge $15 for it. It's your hard work. It's your book. You have to make up the cost for running your shop, for running these emails. It's just not like you're putting it on Amazon and KU and that's it. So you have to price somewhat higher, but also kind of make it affordable and like a deal at the same time. But it's okay to break up those huge bundles into 3 smaller, but so that you can actually have things to sell to make ads worth it.
That's really making me think about splitting mine up even more, because I've done it on the retailers. I have 3 book bundles for my Rockstar series on the retailers, but with direct sales there's this push of having the big discount, and putting a 30% discount on a 3 book bundle doesn't look as attractive as a 30% discount on a 5 book bundle. But then, as you say, that's a commitment. So it's definitely something to test out, but getting the flows set up first to drive through it. Because that's the problem I've been seeing is I'll run the ads, and obviously each ad will focus on a specific book. The 3rd book of my series is my bestseller. So some people will buy the bundle, some people will buy just that individual book. And I am not properly set up to run them through the series, which is a major loss point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The drip series. I always say, like, if you have bundles on your shop, then you should have the ebooks, because you have readers who will just buy each ebook, and that makes for a great drip flow. So when they buy a book, then they'll get an automation to the next book. But with that, I always say, if you're going to have bundles on your shop, but also have the ebooks individual, make the individual ebooks more
expensive.
Yeah, so either they're going to pay $2 or $3 more for each ebook, or they could just buy the bundle. So the ebooks actually should be a few dollars more, because if they're going to drip and buy each one, you don't want to make it less than what they would get if they bought the bundle of the series. So kind of do some math.
Yeah. Are you finding people pricing individual books higher on direct stores than they are on the retailers to compensate for that?
I haven't really looked that closely. I do see some authors pricing about the same, like $2.99 or $3.99, and then they'll have the bundle. I didn't really go and look at the math. It's just something that I noticed.
I price identical. I price the same on my store as on the retailers. And I guess the thing is, we have the extra percentage that we're not paying to the retailers. We have the processing fee and we have our fees to Shopify or wherever, but we still earn more direct than we do through the retailers. So I haven't increased prices. I've just left them as they are and then done bundle discounts as I could.
I think some authors get confused with, on the retailers, your book price, unless you're running a sale, your book price has to be the same across retailers, but it doesn't have to be the same on your shop. For now, it doesn't really have to be the same. I don't think anyone's going to come and be like, this is not the same price.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they price it the exact same. And that's why they create the bundles. But there's a workaround. You can always price your bundle higher and then offer the 15 or 20% discount to get it to the price point that you want, because the reader won't necessarily know that you upmarked it just to mark it down with a coupon. A lot of stores do that anyway.
Amazon on Black Friday.
Yeah. You ever look at something before Black Friday or before Cyber Monday, and then it's like $5 more, but then they offer you a discount and you're like, wait, it's the wrong price.
Yeah. So with the drip campaign, so I'll come back to content of emails. If we were going to prepare for a reader buying one book and we're going to drip them through all of the books in that series, what content would you put in each email for that book? Would you just send them the product, or would you give them more information?
So I did this twice. I did this with Ophelia Bell, and then I also did this with Sidonia Venez, and they were quite different. So with Ophelia Bell, I was moving her drip campaigns from Active Campaign to Klaviyo, and she literally had a whole chapter or so within each email enticing them to move to the next book. That's how she did it, which I thought that was pretty cool. When I created Sidonia's drip campaigns for one of her, I think, Black Ridge series, I think I reworked that. I do copywriting, so I reworded. I took the blurb, but I kind of made it fun, kind of snarky. So I kind of did what the next book was about, and then I kind of did these are the tropes, and I kind of did. Then after that, I'm like, you should read this book if you like, or you should continue with book 3 in this series because the wording that I had. So those are like 2 different ways to do it. You could actually insert chapter 1 of the next book and push them to continue to buy, or you could kind of do like a snippet, like, so you finished reading book 1 in this series. Now it's time to move on to book 2. This is what you get. These are the tropes. And then you push them that way. And then, yeah, you keep doing it through the entire series, but you have to make sure that you are trigger splitting because you don't want to send those emails to someone who already bought it. So if they've already bought it, you don't want that email to go to them. So you have to make sure. So those drip flows could get very long. And so I always tell authors to please duplicate if you make changes because I'm not going to go back and fix them once you mess them up.
Yeah, that could break very easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fright point with Klaviyo is trying to figure out the splits. The conditions of if they purchased this, then send this. If they didn't purchase this, then move to the next step. And it's like, it just goes down and down and down. And you have to repeat.
It keeps going down and splitting.
Line. Yeah.
It gets so long that you have to keep making the screen smaller and smaller so you can see all the boxes.
Also with 160 books, I imagine that one is a nightmare.
Yes. I have not started. I start that one later this week, but she's gearing up for Black Friday, which a lot of Klaviyo and Omnisend, they're having their Black Friday sessions going on. So one is today. I'm going to miss it, but I'll go back and rewatch it. So she's gearing up for Black Friday. So I'll have all of October to get her drip flows going. So
one of my other friends is planning to do Black Friday. I'll do a big Cyber Monday sale, and I just don't know where to even begin with that. I haven't got enough books, I think. On my store, I have 9 Rockstar books, and now my ebooks for my actors are in KU. I'm limited to ebooks for those and then paperbacks for all 15 of my books. Yeah, I don't know how to approach these limited time sales in a way that's not, I don't think it's overwhelming, but it's
you're competing with everyone else. Yeah. I don't know. That's why I'm going to look at the session probably tomorrow so I can give some advice to authors about Friday, what you should not do. But yeah, it's a very competitive time with the email starting next month.
Yeah. So we've covered how to write. We've covered the flows. We've covered... Have you looked at Taylor's emails?
I have not. I'm signed up to Holly Darling, so I see that she says from the desk of Holly Darling, which is something that Taylor does, which I think is pretty cool. And she went into detail about why she thinks she does that, but I haven't looked at any of Taylor's.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, I might sign up just so I can see.
Yeah, this is what we could talk about, actually. Taylor's not afraid of multiple editions. And I have seen some authors that are doing really well with selling special editions. Even before the book's released, they'll put special editions up for pre-order. And they're doing really well with it. And I think there's something interesting there about the way Taylor's hitting it. Torture Poets Department had 4 or 5 special versions that were very specific. We do it with exclusive editions with their own bonus scenes and everything. But I think it's interesting that we are moving into this space where it's actually a possibility for a brand new book to get a special edition version. Have you seen many people doing that? I guess it's another product.
I haven't been an author that long, but just from knowing authors who've been around longer, special editions weren't something that was the norm. It was something that only a book was doing really well that they would even spend the money to do a special edition. But I think thanks to TikTok, the TikTok shops and readers wanting these different variations, these different covers, a lot of authors are coming right out the bat. Now you just don't buy the man chest cover. You buy the man chest cover, the floral cover. You even buy the graphic cover where they draw the characters. Some authors
that's
even do that. They're coming out. You see sometimes cover reveals that have 3 or 4 covers,
Yeah.
and that's the norm. And I think it's actually pretty cool because you have readers who do collect books for their bookshelf. Or when I sell my book boxes, I come to find out that they buy them as gifts for other people, not necessarily for them. So that really got me thinking later down the line that I will probably make special edition boxes, have special editions, hardbacks, paperbacks.
This is a thing I've thought about is like, when I love a book and I want to give it to someone, I don't know what format they prefer. This is the thing I've been talking about with a friend of mine, Johnny, to have like a gift set edition that is an ebook, a paperback, and an audiobook. And then it's like, here, I love this. I don't know which one you're going to like. So here's all 3 of them.
Yeah. In fact, the different variations that readers might want, it creates variety for your backlist. And I think they talked about this, was it last year at RAM? They talked about creating variety for your backlist, and that includes special editions, using what you already have and creating different modes for it so that you're not having to produce brand new work. Just take the work you already have and do different things with it. It's costly. It is. It's not cheap. It's like, if you're not really selling that series, so why would you want to make special editions out of it or put it in audio? If it's not really selling that well, you'll be better off writing a brand new book that's more to market or something that's more trending or something. But if you have some series and books that are doing decent, I would spend the money to create different varieties of that series or that book so that you could have things in your backlist to sell, because readers like different things. And Kickstarter is great for if you need help income-wise. Usually readers know that Kickstarters you're not going to get those things for 6 months out. You could work with a designer to create the cover and create a mock-up of what it would look like. You don't have to buy it. Some authors, they have the means to buy it and order it, and they're pretty much just making their money back. But if you need it up front, then you could do it the mock-up way. So
yeah. And I guess the other thing is, well, Book Vault just opened up the bespoke option. So now we can do POD sprayed edges. We can do POD foil and hardback with dust jackets that are foiled. The hardback dust jackets are not foiled yet. So there's a lot of these options now that actually we can do POD. And I feel like this spot UV, I feel like somebody is going to add that to a POD option sometime soon. Because then spot UV doesn't even involve new covers. Like, you don't have to get the covers reformatted for foil. You just send it to printer and they do it. And that would be so much easier because that takes out another cost level.
Right.
I do find it fascinating that these things are selling. And from what I've seen from virtually unknown authors, I saw one example. She said the special edition pre-order had sold more pre-orders at $45 than the ebook. And the book hadn't even released yet, which is fascinating to me when, like, it must be tapping into 2 different markets.
People like pretty books.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we just do. We'll go to Barnes & Noble and find a pretty copy of Dracula. And even if we have 5 copies of Dracula at home, we'll still buy the new pretty copy. This is how Barnes & Noble stays in business, right?
I remember as a kid when I would go to the library or go to a bookstore, and I wasn't the best reader when I was younger. I had reading issues, so my mom had to help me catch up. But I remember I would pick books that were pretty. I would pick books that were pretty. Couldn't even read the title. It was pretty. I think about that and I'm like, readers like books that are pretty. They just like it because it's pretty. I was picking up books because they were pretty. I couldn't read it. I like the way it looked.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. But I do think they're two different markets, and it's definitely something we should be investigating now that it's becoming easier to fulfill it print on demand. Because, we're not holding stock. The input cost is the fact that, we'd need another cover. Potentially you need file formatting. And if you're going to do hardback, you need hardback formatting. Or whatever you're going to do for your end pages and all of this complicated stuff. If you're going to do sprayed edges with the design, then it's just extra costs that I've realized it's easier to think about those extra costs when I'm actually paying for the first cover. For some reason, it doesn't feel as daunting if I'm just doing it when I pay for the cover, because I just did it with large print. I want to do large print for all of my books, but it's terrifying to me to go, oh, right, I need to pay £45 per book. I have 15 books. I need to go back and do all of them. So literally, I just did my new release. I just paid for the cover, the large print, when I was paying for my print version for my new release. And it was like, yep, it's just another cost, done. Because it's not a bulk cost.
It's bulk when we go back.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a lot.
Yeah, that's the terrifying part. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? We need to be taking a lesson from Taylor's book in that it's not just about the first version of the book. So for our authors now, it's not just about ebook, audiobook, and paperback. It's those things: hardback, special editions, paperback, special edition hardbacks, discrete covers, illustrated covers, extra bells and whistles that you can't get anywhere else, and graphic audio, and all of these extra pieces. And then we add in the things, the merch you can pair these things with.
Right.
I don't know where we're going, but I think the day's going to come where authors are like Taylor, where we're literally releasing. I don't know if it'd be a case of we were literally with hers, like releasing a different pre-order option on a vinyl every other week before the album even dropped. I don't think we'll get there, but why not?
Yeah, so many different options.
Yeah.
I did go over to Natalie's store and I saw your super cute stickers.
Oh!
I think that's the comment I was going to make, was about your stickers and how cute those are. Yeah, and fun.
Do you feel like we've covered everything we would need to cover for e-commerce? Is there anything you could think of that you'd like to add that might help an experienced author or a brand new author trying to figure all this out?
If I had to say, I know everyone's in a time crunch and people just don't have the time that they used to have. But one thing that I noticed that helps a lot is, and I mean, the bundles are exclusive to shops, but for authors who have massive backlists and they're not really doing anything with their older books, or they have series now that produces the most of their income, exclusivity works wonders on a shop. And that's all I sell on my shop are exclusive books. They're not available anywhere else. They're not available on Amazon unless someone pirates them, which people do. So that helps a lot, is exclusivity. So if you have a large backlist and you have books that aren't really doing anything on Amazon, they're older, and I know our writing evolves over time, but if you could slap a more updated cover on it, maybe run it through re-editing again with a different editor, you could put those books and you can make a bundle of exclusive books. People like things that they can't get anywhere else. And if the more you have stuff that they can't get anywhere else, the easier it would be to sell your books, sell your bundles, sell merch, whatever. So that's the one thing that I would say is, I mean, if you don't have any books that can be exclusive to just your shop, then I totally get that. But if you have a larger backlist and you have just sitting duck books, I would definitely get them updated, get them re-edited again, and create an exclusive bundle or an exclusive drip flow for those books, either for your shop or for your membership, because I have exclusive books that are for my membership only, and I have books on my shop that are exclusive only. So that's what I do.
And I'm looking straight at Emily as you say that. Because she has a lot of rights back.
I wrote for Harlequin, so I have Harlequin books that I have the rights back on, and I'm trying to figure out, and it's a fucking chore. But It's an interesting conundrum of how to handle
Right.
those. Yeah, because some of them I go back and I reread them and I'm like, that sucks. I'm not going to do anything with that. And others I'm like, no, I really love this story still. I think this still has potential. I need to figure out how to repackage it so that it can find the love.
I think it's the writing growth that authors get tripped over when they go back and read their books from 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And honestly,
20 years ago in my case.
if you have new to your readers, I mean, yeah, they might notice, but I mean, if it's a book that's hitting the same tropes that you write now, or it's in that market, I will definitely put them out there. We think these readers are super, super picky, but they're just looking for an escape. As long as it's still first person or whatever that you write in currently. Now, if you write in first and all your books are in third from like 10 years ago, then you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Because your readers.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've been trying to do is figure out a way to seamlessly move it from third to first. I'm still working on that process. But the other thing is Harlequin was such a specific product. It was a romance jammed into this narrow slot. I went back and I reread one of my books that I remembered as being one of my favorite books that I wrote. And I still loved the story. But when I reread it with like totally fresh eyes, I was like, this is not a category romance. This is a single title romance that I crammed into a category length. I mean, that's definitely one of those, like, if I go back and rewrite that, I want to fill out all of those areas where I crammed the story into this narrow little slot. That's not an easy fix.
No, it's not.
It's a fun challenge, but not an easy fix.
Yeah. Okay, then. I think that wraps us up. Let's finish off with our typical question of tell us what song are you obsessed with this week? I'll let Natalie go first.
What song I'm obsessed with this week? I think it is Sunshine by Labyrinth. I've been playing that on repeat because I just came back from Malta, which is in Europe, and I was at a lot of the pools, and that was the song that was playing all the time, sitting there drinking my drinks, my mocktails.
Side question, did you go to Exiles?
What's that?
Okay, you and I are going back to Malta together.
Okay.
Exiles is a bar in San Julian that it's on the rocks, basically. It's literally a bar on the rocks. And everybody just turns up there multiple nights a week and they have live music. And some people buy drinks in the bar, some people buy drinks in the next bar down, some people bring their own drinks. People just gather there. It's the best atmosphere. So you and I are going back to Malta together.
Okay.
Emily, which song are you picking?
So I have been re-listening to the Lover album, which is weirdly sad, knowing how her relationship with Joe turned out. You know, it's like, it's a little bit of a hard listen this time around. I'm like, the song that I love, that I've always loved from that album is Cornelia Street. It's just so poignant, especially in retrospective, because it's like you see the groundwork for their breakup in that song, even then. And it was like, I was listening to it in the car the other day and I was almost crying because she has this refrain of, I never want Cornelia Street again. I never want to go back to that spot where we almost broke up. And then knowing, of course, that she did is a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So what about you, Morgana? What are you listening to?
We're going to continue the morbid could have, would have, should have.
Yeah.
I watched, you have the producer YouTube react videos. I just love watching men react to could have, would have, should have. And there's this thing in it, how they react to the girlhood line. And therefore I become obsessed. I always want to see their reaction because a lot of men don't catch it. And these ones did. It sticks there in your head.
That's an interesting one. I should listen to that with my son, actually. My son is 16, almost 17. And we have a lot of ongoing discussions about consent and about boundaries and about stuff like that. And this is going to surprise no one who's heard me talk about anything. We are a pretty liberal family, politically and socially. But even with that, a 16-year-old boy on the internet at all, he gets exposed to a lot of other opinions trying to sort of entice him into that POV. The other night we had the whole red pill, blue pill discussion. And one of the things we talked about was like, do teenage girls have ownership of their own bodies and their own sexualities, or is that something that's sort of owned by society? The fact that there is this opinion out there, I mean, I'm assuming we're three women, we feel like we should have ownership of our bodies and our innocence and things like that. But when I laid out for him that, like, there are people who feel like we shouldn't, our bodies are property of society. And he was like, what? It's interesting, but that's a good song. I should listen to that with him and have those discussions with him via that song. And suddenly I made the conversation super dark and super intense. And I didn't mean to, but
it's okay. We never know where we're going to go with Taylor Swift. It's fine.
Can I just jump in and add, this is the beauty of Taylor Swift, is that she is ostensibly a pop princess, but she's also a vehicle to talk about some very serious topics. She brings them out and they sound light, or they sound not frivolous. Would have, should have, could have doesn't sound frivolous ever, but it still sounds like a pop song. But it's about a very serious topic, and it allows people to broach topics of conversation that you might not otherwise broach.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. The ending nobody expected. Natalie, I know you have to go quickly. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you? You want to hire you to help fix the devastation that is the clavio?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to work with me, or if you have any questions for me about flows or marketing emails, you can always, my DMs are open. I am on Facebook as Natalie Knight, and you can always DM me if you want to learn more about me helping you with your flows, packages, anything like that. You can head to my website, which is nkcopywriting.com, all one word. So, yeah.
I keep seeing comments and somebody's looking for your website, and I'm just like, I know it. Then I find it, and it's like, that's why I can't remember it. Because I expect it to be your full name, and it's never your full name.
No.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. I was just thinking as we were talking, we should probably get you back to talk about your membership at some point, because you do it quite uniquely. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
To our listeners, thank you so much for sticking around for another long episode. We've kind of settled into these long ones now. Might be the new normal.
I know I learned a ton about, a topic I didn't even know was a topic before today. So thank you so much, Natalie Knight, for coming and shedding some light. And I'm sure that even Morgana, who did know this was a thing, learned things as well. So thank you very much. And listeners, we will see you next week.